Welcome to Your Money with Leo Daprile. I'm Leo Daprile, and each week on AM570, Dan Rivers and I will talk about anything and everything to do with your money. If you ever have questions, please feel free to call me at 330-533-6936, or you can email me at leo@gemyoung.com. Enjoy the show.
This episode of Your Money with Leo Daprile is sponsored by Grange Insurance.
The segment is brought to you by Gem Young Wealth Advisors. It's a family business that does business with individuals and families that need comprehensive risk management for their wealth and assets. And they believe that clients want professional advice at a fair value, and they deliver that by leveraging their reputation of professionalism, integrity, teamwork, and a get-it-done-right attitude the first time. They believe in making a difference in their clients' lives, and we have the president on board with us. Here is Leo Daprile. Hi, Leo.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much for joining us, and hope you had a good time with that big, large, extended family of yours.
We did. It was awfully busy, but fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we continue to be in the throes of this coronavirus, and I would imagine that this is pretty much going to dictate the gross domestic product on how things go in the near future, right?
Yeah, I think so, but there's still pockets of opportunities that we see out there. Naturally, we still see the industries, the travel and entertainment, continuing to struggle. But that being said, did you see the reports about last Sunday that air travel was the highest it's been since pre-pandemic, which surprised me that many people actually traveled and got on planes. Yeah,
something else that I was just thinking, Leo, is that we're now finding that Arizona is a hot spot, and you would think that those people would be outdoors more. And, some of the areas that you think, well, you'd have an opportunity to dine outside, that you would have less of the coronavirus. But it seems to be even affecting the places where, we would think that warm weather would allow them to be outdoors.
I think this virus continues to just defy what our assumptions are on how we contract it. We went into our traditional thinking mode that now that it's cold and people are inside and viruses are more contained, people are going to get sick. And although that proved out to be true, I think what also makes this different this time around than over the summer is just the exponential spread of the disease, because so many more people have it, that I think your location's becoming less relevant. Yeah,
exactly. It's got to be a while before you're on the list to get it, but I'm assuming that you're going to embrace it.
I am. I certainly am. I'm believing in the science of it. I'm not overthinking that. And the research that I've done on it, my one son's an engineer, so he really researched the heck out of this and felt that this is in many senses a traditional vaccine in terms of how it's produced and the type of the structure of the vaccine. So he's very confident in it. So after having that due diligence, and again, I'm one of the guys that says trust the science.
Yeah. Well, same thing. I had this discussion yesterday, and we were talking about the virus and whether or not you're going to take it. There's a lot of healthcare workers that are not taking it. Maybe it's just out of ignorance, but the thing about it is that you've got Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson and BioNTech and all of these companies out there that have researched this, and the research has been going on for a few years before they were able to put this toward the coronavirus. And just logic would say that if these large companies are putting this kind of effort into this, they don't want to be wrong, do they?
It's just like managing money, Dan. This is the parallel that I'll draw, that when you bring emotion into a conversation, it just clouds your decision-making, because we all, whether we like to admit it or not, all of our decisions to one degree or another have an emotional component to it, whether it's getting the vaccine, whether it's how we manage our money, the decisions that we make. So in this case, like I always try to do, you got to make sure that the logic and the compelling evidence is there. That way you can go ahead and make that decision.
Yeah, exactly. And, not to dismiss your air travel comment, because that is a kind of a sign of whether or not people believe that they can go on with their lives. And I got into this discussion yesterday, kind of with myself, about Wuhan, China. And they had a New Year's Eve celebration. They had thousands of people in the streets. They've got people indoors. They seem to have defied logic. And then most of my callers said, well, you got to take this with a grain of salt, because they don't put anything out that's not for the consumption of the world. And this is being managed by the communist government. Thoughts on that?
I completely agree with that. I saw the same tapes that you saw, the same videos that you saw, and there's just that part of me just felt that that whole thing was manufactured just to show that they're better and everything's better, but the rest of the world is not. So
Yeah. That should give you
evidence that it hasn't gone away.
That should give you an indication, right? I mean, if there's almost anywhere else you look in the world, they are having a difficult time of this, and China is the only one that's having a good time of it. There must be there must be a little bit something off there, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you got it. But the airline travel continues, and that is always a sign of our economy because that's the mode of operation. I mean, hey, you can be in Florida in 2 hours, and that's
right.
People love to do that, and they're back at it. I don't know if that's good or bad right now because some people have said that the airline travel is interesting because they clean the air better in the airplane than people would normally have in an indoor dining system.
Well, I heard from a doctor yesterday, and because somebody that I know closely is recovering from COVID, and was saying, well, maybe I contracted this doing my holiday shopping and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And the doctor's response was, it's everywhere. You can try to avoid it. It's just whether or not your body's receptive or not to getting it. So he kind of dismissed all of these things. So if you're in a controlled environment like an airplane, is it any really different than being in a mall that has even less filtration systems?
Yeah. And I think that just confirms what we're saying is that it could be anywhere, and a lot of it has to do is the extra vitamin D, the vitamin C, the zinc that you're taking. Is that going to build your immune system that you're able to withstand it? I like to think all of those things can be helpful. Go ahead.
From our point of view, we look at that like we look at money. That's risk management, right, Dan?
Yeah.
You want to take all your extra vitamins. You want to do what you can to make yourself as healthy as you can so that you can manage the risk that even if you do get it, that it's a mild case because your body's prepared to recover from it.
Yeah. Local topic out there this morning, and it kind of given me a little bit of a pause when I saw that Astro Shapes had been sold to an investment firm. And what do you think? Have you delved into that yet? Is that going to be okay for us, or how do you think that'll go? Is it just too early to tell?
I've done a little bit of research on it, not a great deal of research on it, but typically when a company like that comes in and buys a local company, and I don't know why they chose to sell. I don't know if they were just getting older and it was time to unlock their equity, which in many cases is why that happens. And when companies get big enough, then it becomes more difficult for another local buyer to buy them, so they end up having to sell to much bigger firms. This company owns a lot of other companies, and you always got to start from the premise that the company's coming in not to tear them down. The company's coming in to make them bigger. Mm-hmm. And typically when you have a company coming in, they're bringing a lot more resources with them. So, and they see a good business model that they want to exploit and grow. So I would say right now I would be cautiously optimistic.
Well, I certainly hope so, because a lot of us, drive by that plant. I mean, if you're going out to the golf course or if you're going through Struthers, you see Astro Shapes there. They have a big footprint in Struthers, but they have employees in Boardman also. It looks to me like the Struthers plant, and I know a few people that work there, that it's very well run. And hopefully the private equity corporate, is this under private equity again, or not necessarily? This is a company that owns other plants. Do you still call that private equity?
Yes, and where that comes from, Dan, is whether or not it's publicly traded or not. And so this is a private firm that's raised their own capital that came in to buy this firm. And I looked at some of the other firms that they own, and they own some pretty strong names out there, specifically West Marine. So if you're a boater, you know all about West Marine and their retail stores. So,
okay.
But like anything else, it's going to be performance-based as long as everybody's driving and delivering. But if it wasn't a well-run company in the first place, they wouldn't have stepped up to buy it either.
Not quite the same thing when bankers just buy something, is it? Because this company has a history of owning other firms like this?
Yeah, that's different. What's been going on in the banking industry is what we like to call a roll-up, because there's so much saturation of banks, and when banks go buy other banks, it's easy to chop off the senior management teams at one of the banks, and the combined organization makes it much more profitable because they're able to just cost structure that way. So typically in a case like that, it's the upper management that lose their jobs in the consolidation process, and that's where they're wringing out the extra profitability from the merger.
I got it. In other words, they can come in, they can duplicate the management. This manager, he now manages 3 plants instead of 2, and they make their money that way. But this is a little different because this company actually owns and operates other businesses that are successful. So I hope that gives us a little bit of hope here in the Boardman Struthers area that plant will stay the same or maybe even grow.
And I think what's important on that in this particular scenario, Astro Shapes is a company that makes things. So you need people to make things. You need factories to make things. You need the distribution channel to get things in and out. So not to oversimplify it, but when you're buying a company like that, you want to make more of those things. Mm-hmm. So you're hoping they're bringing in more capital. They're bringing in more resources, more people that they know so that they can expand their production. Because they're not just buying this, crossing their fingers and hoping everything stays the same. Their intention is to buy it and grow it. Yeah.
Well, I imagine this is your busy time of year, and talk a little bit about your sit-downs and your powwows that you have with people.
Sure, you're right, Dan. We normally slow down mid-December, but this year we didn't skip a beat. We've been blessed that way. So we're family business, does business with individuals and families that seek comprehensive risk management for their wealth and their assets. Specifically on the wealth management side, we deal with a select group of individuals and successful business owners that aspire to a work-optional lifestyle, and we've developed specific processes that we've refined over time to help them reach those goals. We start with a fit meeting, and I found that through the years, Dan, what's so important that if you're going to work with a financial planning firm, that it's an intensely personal relationship, and you got to really make sure that you guys philosophically we're in sync with each other, so that we can really help people achieve those goals. So this fit meetings are just a good way for us to sit down and get to know each other. And then we don't make any decisions in that meeting. We don't sell anything. We don't talk about your money. We talk about philosophies. And then we come back and we talk 2 days later. I sit with my team and we evaluate whether that prospective client of ours is a fit for our organization, because that's key for us too. And then the prospective client takes those 2 days to decide whether we're a fit for them.
Very well. All right, there on Star Center Drive, and that's near Tippecanoe. And Leo, if you will, the phone number and your email.
Sure. The phone number is 330-533-6936, and my email address is leo@gemyoung.com.
All right. Very well. So if you're looking for an advisor, Leo will certainly be glad to sit down with you and see if you folks have a meeting of the minds. The story today that Elon Musk may soon be on the way to becoming the world's wealthiest man. That's quite a story, isn't it? That the wealth that he has achieved in such an early innovation of that automobile, the Tesla. And if you had bought Tesla stock, you'd be sitting pretty high and dry, wouldn't you?
I think the number I saw yesterday, and I think the stock price last year went up 743%.
My gosh. You think about the product that he has out there. What about people that are saying, I still don't know if I could drive this across country because I couldn't find the infrastructure to charge the battery? Is that becoming more or less of a question now? Because I really wouldn't know where you would go for a charging station, although some folks were talking to me the other day that there are some places putting them in.
My brother has a Tesla, and he loves it, first of all. And one of the things he says is the car will tell you where the charging stations are. It tells you how much of your battery's left so that you can confidently get to the places you're getting to. Now, if you're someone that's more of a leisurely traveler that doesn't mind maybe the occasional half hour to an hour rest breaks to charge your car, then traveling across country is not an objection. If you're one of those people that wants to get in the car and get to where you're going, then those are the people that will have an objection. But I think the charging station is going to quickly become a short-term objection.
Yeah. And, I know Joe Biden was saying, the Vice President-elect Joe Biden was saying that he's going to build these charging stations across the nation, but that will typically be built out by demand, won't it?
I agree with that, and I think that shouldn't be a government build-out, quite frankly. Let the private industry continue to build it, because competition of who's building the cars, who's building the stations, we'll put in more stations more efficiently than the federal government would do it. I don't know why their nose is in that.
Yeah, you got it. planning for 2021, this is not a bad time to take some gains, right? If you want to rebalance your portfolio, are you doing a little bit of that work right now too?
We are constantly on it. I've been talking with my money managers all through December, and we've been talking about 2021 philosophy, strategies, because a lot of specific sectors and specific stocks were really hot in 2020, and there's a lot of them saying there's a lot of other opportunities, especially in the second half of 2021. So we're actively rebalancing portfolios as we speak. So I'm suggesting to other folks, if you don't have someone like me doing that, make sure you're doing that now. Don't be afraid to take those gains. Don't stay married to a stock because it did really well. Mm-hmm. This is the good time to take a good look at what's going on, see what other opportunities are being created, and position yourself. Because the other problem, Dan, with all of this is, with especially like we've talked in the past, the FANG stocks have done so well in 2020 that you could be disproportionately heavy in many of those stocks. And if one of them trips up a little bit, you could have a disproportionate loss. So this is where diversification is key, but you got to be willing to take some of your gains off the table, do your research, and then just diversify your portfolio again.
Okay, and then you're also going to look at places that have not delivered for you too, right? And maybe eject those.
That's right. And a lot of managers are taking hard looks at international stocks again, especially as this pandemic begins to unwind some more. And everybody's saying the same thing. Come April or May, once we get to a certain critical mass of vaccinations, people are going to start breathing a sigh of relief, and we're really going to start getting a momentum back. So there's a lot of not only American opportunities, but global opportunities. So if you don't have a global position in your portfolio, now's a good time to start doing your research and see what might fit for you.
Yeah, right. And what about the election that's on the agenda for today? Is that nervous city for you? Are you worried about that, the election in Georgia?
I'm preparing for it. I'm not nervous for it because whatever the outcome is, I have to be prepared to deal with it and execute accordingly to that. I think what you saw yesterday, Dan, with the market being as volatile it was, because the market was down at over 600 points, the Dow was yesterday at one point, and I think that was, in my opinion, was pure election anxiety, is what happened yesterday. And even though the futures are positive today, they're barely positive. So I think there's still more angst, short-term angst, on how the election might impact the market in the short term. And I'm reading everything, Dan, and I'm seeing some people saying, the economy is going to do better under Biden, and the economy is going to be just fine if everything's all Democratic. I see other analysts saying we could have a 6 to 10% correction if we lose the Senate. And I think, like most people that I read, something in between is where we're going to end up.
All right. I'm just trying to think about where we would have been last year at this time. Do you recall on the Dow and the S&P?
I don't remember the numbers, but I remember talking last year that we were highly confident that the fundamentals of the economy were going to be strong, and everybody was planning for 2020 to be a robust year. Mm-hmm. But this was also the time, too, when it was just starting to drip about the virus, but nobody was really paying that much attention to it yet. So it wasn't really making it to the front page of papers yet.
Got it. How about the day traders out there? What are they doing, and what do they mean to the stock market overall?
Okay, so this is where I'm a bit of a contrarian, Dan. Day traders, back in 1999 and 2000, when people start doing their own trading and people start thinking they're smarter than the professional managers, that makes me nervous. And right now in 2020, we've had such a rise of the day trader. What that tells me is a lot of people don't understand the risk because you're new players in the game. It's not like you've been doing this for 20 years and all of a sudden you're popping up. So there's a whole bunch of inexperienced traders in the market right now, and I think they're part of the reason the markets are pushing a bit higher. They're taking bigger, higher, more concentrated positions, and I don't know if they're as prepared for the market volatility that goes with it because, quite frankly, absent what we had for the coronavirus, there's been very little significant volatility in the market for years. So I think people have underestimated what volatility will do to your portfolio if you're not prepared. So that's actually a warning sign to me. And that's why I wanted to bring that up. When I see a rise in day trading, then that tells me people are starting to not pay as close of attention to the risk that goes along with investing as they should.
Right. Do day traders now have a big impact on the market?
They're starting to. Yeah, they're starting to, because they're taking very concentrated positions. So they're part of the reason some of these larger tech stocks have been driving up. But again, that's why some of these tech stocks, the valuations, and they're part of the reason Tesla is just like priced out of this world. You look at the fundamentals on Tesla, and if you're a logically thinking investor, you'd sit there and say, this makes no sense to own. Because everything ultimately gets back down to normalized levels.
Yep.
At least that's, and when we quit believing that is when we start getting ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, you got it. All right, interesting conversation. I appreciate it, Leo. And your information before you leave and what you do for folks.
Sure, you can call me at 330-533-6936, or you can email me at leo@gemyoung.com, and we can sit down and have that fit meeting where we talk about, introduce ourselves to each other, and see if we can help each other.
All right. And if you lose track of the information, simply search Gem Young Wealth Advisors. They are in the Canfield area near Tippecanoe. Not quite Canfield, but around Tippy and Star Center Drive. They're back there, and they've got a very nice office, and they'll take good care of you. Gem Young Wealth Advisors. Leo, I'll see you next week. Have yourself a great day, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Dan. You too.
Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell for notifications. And also make sure to connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. For all of your business news, visit businessjournaldaily.com. For all of your arts and entertainment news, go to afterhoursyoungstown.com.